and welcome back to another bookish video. I'm Sam, and today we're going to be talking about something that's pretty special to me. This is going to be my self-help book recommendation list. And the reason this is so important to me is because I struggle with several different things. I've been diagnosed with GAD, which is generalized anxiety disorder. I have undiagnosed ADHD, and there are other struggles that I face that I'd rather not share on a public social media platform. So suffice it to say that my brain is basically just a neurospicy alphabet soup. That's okay. That's what makes me me. So I've learned to accept that and be okay with that. That being said, I understand this time of year can be really hard for people with the holidays and family or lack of family, etc. It's just compounding the normal everyday stresses in our life. So I thought I would take the chance and recommend some self-help books that will hopefully give you an edge this holiday season in dealing with family, dealing with yourself, dealing with the added stress of the holidays and money and financial and emotional worries and all that fun stuff that comes with the holidays that people don't seem to talk about. So let's get into it. We're just going to go into it hard. My first recommendation straight out the gate is going to be Calm the Down by Sarah Knight. And I've talked about this author before. She's written several self-help books that are written in a funny, almost sarcastic, irreverent, witty vein. And it works for me. I think it's funny while at the same time giving actual decent advice. This particular book of hers is about dealing with anxiety and how to calm down, how to get through life without freaking out. The biggest takeaway that I got from this book was when you should worry about something and when you should not worry about something. In other words, if something is out of your control and you have no control over the outcome or what's going to happen, then why waste time worrying about it? She has a term for them, but I can't say it, but put your stress towards something that you can actually change or fix. Instead of worrying about everything, basically just worry about the things that you can actually change or have influence over, which makes total sense. It sounds so simple, but at the same time, it is so hard to apply. It actually has helped me. The next recommendation is ADHD for Smartass Women by Tracy Otsuka. I hope I'm saying that right. This book is about ADHD, specifically how it relates to women, because women don't typically show ADHD in the same way as males do. When you think of ADHD, you think of like the kid that can't sit still. Well, that's one sign of ADHD. There are others. The way the author explains it is there are external signs of ADHD, which are what we're most familiar with. There are also internal signs of ADHD, and that's what most women tend to show. Another way she explains it is basically your brain is running at high speed or your body is running at high speed. And we typically think of ADHD as the body running at high speed, but with females, it tends to be the brain running at high speed and not able to shut off, trying to think about everything at one time and just overloading ourselves. And it's what basically confirmed to me that I have ADHD, whether it be diagnosed or not. I have a lot of the symptoms and a lot of the tips helped me. And, that's enough for me. The next recommendation is Sure, I'll Join Your Cult by Maria Bamford. And she's a voice actor. She's been on several shows that I love. Big Mouth on Netflix and Bob's Burgers. Love those shows. But anyway, this talks about her experience of wanting to belong so desperately, you'll basically join anything that promises friendship and relief and love from outside yourself. I related a lot to the things in this book. I did. And if you like Maria Bamford, or if you kind of struggle with feelings of isolation and loneliness, then you might like this book. You might relate to it too. The next recommendation is Help Me by Marian Power. And this book is actually what started my self-help journey. At the beginning of this year, I was struggling with seasonal affective disorder. I decided that I was going to read at least one self-help book a month to try to help me learn and grow and deal with all the neurospicy alphabet soup that is my brain. In this book, the author basically does the same thing. She reads one self-help book a month and follows it to a T, and at the end of it, her brain is such a jumbled mess. She's just learned so much and applied so much, and instead of helping her, it's kind of confused her and done the opposite of help, really. So this was an excellent book about how maybe sometimes reading self-help books is actually detrimental to your mental health instead of being helpful. You've got to take what actually works for you and kind of ignore the rest, if that makes sense. The next book is Prozac Nation by Elizabeth Wurtzel. Again, I hope I'm saying that right. And basically it's about one girl's struggle with depression and anxiety and feelings of self-harm, and how nothing seemed to work until Prozac came out, and that pill is what helped her. It helped her get her life back on track. Whoa, that is very pigmented. Okay. She was able to maintain her life, go through her day-to-day routine with the aid of this medicine. And you know what? I'll go ahead and admit, I am on Prozac. And for me, it changed my life. It's worked absolute wonders. I've been on it for just under a year, and I can't imagine going off of it. It has changed my outlook on life. It's helped my anxiety and depression overall. It's been a game changer. It really, really has. And I'm not recommending you get on it. Just understand that there are medicines out there that can help you if you choose to go that route. And you know, if you're opposed to Western medicine and stuff, that's fine. Everybody does their own thing. That's fine. But this is what worked for me. The next recommendation is Quiet Girl in a Noisy World. And this is a graphic novel. I won't even say it's a novel because it's really not. It's just comics, A Quiet Girl in a Noisy World, and how people are judgmental of introverts, and how this is a very extroverted world, and the things that an introvert has to do just to get by in society. The next recommendation is Goblin Mode by Michaela Cole. And this book is almost a slap in the face to the clean girl aesthetic and all the preppiness and stuff like that. This is a book that's basically saying it's okay to be your cringy, filthy little goblin-y self and do what makes you happy. The goblinness, the being okay with being yourself part of the book resonated with me. The next recommendation is going to be How to Keep House While Drowning by Casey Davis. And I have talked about this book before on my favorite books video, and I'll link that. This book is talking about how perfection shouldn't be your goal in anything. Sometimes good enough is good enough. It talks about when you're struggling with depression and mental health issues, sometimes your house is going to get out of order, and that makes you feel worse. And it can also be unsanitary and a danger to your physical health as well as your mental health. So what she recommends, don't worry about perfection. Don't worry if you're not physically or mentally able to wash the dishes after you're done eating. That's fine. Put them in a Ziploc bag next to the sink and deal with them when you're able to deal with them. But that way you're not adding filth and bugs to your living area. So I like that message, that good enough is good enough. The next recommendation is Sorry I'm Late, I Didn't Want to Come by Jessica Pan. And this is another book about introverts. The author of this one, she goes on a year-long journey of pushing herself outside her comfort zone to try to be more extroverted. She goes to a comedy club and performs. She travels overseas solo. So she forces herself to do all these things and go outside her comfort zone in an effort to become more extroverted. At the end, she realizes that she's okay with being an introvert. Forcing herself to do all the extroverted stuff, it was good, it was interesting, it gave her a few funny stories to tell, but she learns to be okay with who she is. And I think that's a great message. The next recommendation is Quiet by Susan Cain. This book talks about how this world is very much an extroverted world. Being an introvert hurts you in jobs, in relationships, in all these ways that we don't think about. And it's not fair. And so the author talks about why should we have to change our personality to fit in with an extroverted world. She really raises the point of what necessarily is wrong with being an introvert. And her resounding answer is absolutely nothing. Introverts tend to be more thoughtful, more logical. They tend to have deeper conversations when they do connect with somebody and choose to open up to them. They're able to do so on a deeper level that extroverts tend to just skim the surface of relationships, if that makes sense. As an introvert, this book made me feel a lot more comfortable with being myself. The next recommendation is Wild by Cheryl Strayed, and this is another one that I've talked about. This book is about a girl who is going through a divorce. Her mother has just died, and she's just reeling with all the changes and emotional upset in her life. And in order to kind of process everything and move on with her life, she decides to hike the Pacific Crest Trail solo. This book is about her journey as she does that and as she learns about herself and her connection with the world and with others. And this book was fascinating to me. Not just the emotional journey, but the physical journey itself was so interesting, and it kind of made me want to hike the Appalachian Trail. The next recommendation is Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. And this book is about a woman who is also going through a divorce, and she decides to go on a religious, almost, solo journey overseas. And she starts in Italy, where she learns to love herself. And then she goes to India, where she learns to connect to God. And then she goes to somewhere in Malaysia, I want to say, and learns how to love her fellow man. So where Wild was about a personal emotional journey, I feel like Eat, Pray, Love was more of a connection journey, how to connect with your inner self, how to connect with God, and how to connect to your fellow man. So similar, but different, like two halves of a whole. The last recommendation is going to be The Kind Diet by Alicia Silverstone. And this book is why I went vegan a few years ago. And don't worry, I'm not going to preach at you about veganism. I'm no longer a vegan. But this book was very interesting. It taught me a lot of things about like the beef industry and certain things like that, where our food really comes from and how the animals are really treated. So if you're interested in learning more about things like that, definitely check out this book. And the reason I consider it a self-help book is because it really made me more mindful about where my food comes from and the ethical treatment of the animals that we get our meat from. I feel like I did learn a lot from this book, and because of it, I did become vegan briefly, but unfortunately I love cheese, so could not maintain the vegan diet. But if you're interested in learning more, then yeah, definitely check out this book. But that's all that I'm going to say about veganism. So here's the final look. Last night I slept with the flexi rods again, and this time they didn't do as great a job, but that's more my fault than anything else. I'm not a hair person. I wish I was, but I have no idea what I'm doing. Just like makeup, I do it because it's fun. I hope that you got some good recommendations from this list. I genuinely hope that you have a safe and happy holiday season. I hope these books help you work on the parts of yourself that you want to work on and give you some peace of mind as you go into the stressful chaoticness of this holiday season. So thanks for watching, and make sure you check out my next video, which is going to be books about dysfunctional families that will hopefully make you realize your family isn't as bad as they could be. So stay tuned for that. If you like this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye.